Hey everyone, and welcome to the Uncorked Corner podcast, where we cover the full spread of food and beverage industry topics. My name is Bianca, PR and marketing professional by day and food and wine connoisseur by night.
And my name is Nick, an accountant with a passion for barbecue, beer, and whiskey. Today we welcome Chris Zazo. Chris is the founder of Hailstone Vineyards in Dallas, Texas.
In today's episode, Chris takes us through his unorthodox journey into the wine industry, Hailstone's award-winning wine selection, and the unique bottles that help Hailstone differentiate themselves from their competition.
If you enjoy this podcast, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to us. With that said, let's welcome Chris to the show.
Hello. Today we are excited to welcome Chris Zazo, CEO of Hailstone Vineyards, to the podcast. Chris, let's start by having you introduce yourself and tell us about your background with Hailstone Vineyards and the wine industry.
Well, thank you for having me, Bianca. I really appreciate being here and being able to spend some time with you and explain a little bit about Hailstone Vineyards. Once again, my name is Chris Zazo. I'm the CEO and founder of Hailstone Vineyards out of Napa, California. My background is not necessarily wine. I'm not born in the vineyards or had my feet in the soil anytime when I was a kid in Napa Valley, but I did have my feet in the soil in Akron, Ohio, where I'm originally from. I was born and raised on a farm in Akron, Ohio, so that's kind of where I start my quest for food and wine and things that my grandparents grew and made wine, and just kind of had a knack for that. Cooking, kind of my Zen spot for me. And then after many years of just growing up around that and then discovering what I really liked and where my palate headed in food and wine in my 20s and then into my 30s, really I called my shot in my 40s to start producing wine in Napa Valley, which people would have thought I told them that the world was flat when I made that profound statement with my friends after one too many visits to wineries out there, and just had a really nice night. But I did call the shot and made good on it, and here we're still doing it almost 8 years later.
That's great. I'm glad it's still going well. We love your stuff. We're so excited to have you on. What was the aha moment that really sparked you to say, I'm going to start my own winery? Let's do this.
Well, it was funny because I had aspirations to do something that would be fun like that. And just being in wine and food, I had a small catering company along the way. I mean, I found my way from Akron, Ohio to Dallas, Texas in the construction business. And then I migrated to a really niche construction, which was hailstorm restoration work in Dallas, Texas. So I had nothing when I went into this thing. It was really kind of blind. But I did find a conduit out there. A friend of mine that was his family had been in the wine business for many years, family winery. Then he had a label that spun off from that family business. And so he was a guy that I really connected with and was going to show me the way to do it in Napa, because that's where my palate goes every time, and that's what I wanted to make. And so once we partnered, we had that bond, so that once we got together, it was just, peas and carrots, and ran after it and said we're going to do it. But one of the interesting things was I had no name. And so the night that I kind of put the flag in the ground and said that this is going to happen, my friends laughed, but they said, well, what's the name going to be? And I had nothing. And it just came out, and they said Hailstone. And they go, that's even funnier because you're a hailstorm restoration guy in Dallas, Texas, and you're going to name your wine Hailstone. It's not going to happen. I said, and then it stuck with me, and then from there on, we just pursued, and here we are through many migrations of label forming and names for the wines. We've arrived at the 4 that we currently produce, and they have some fun that goes along with them.
Absolutely. And we love hearing everyone's stories because they're all so different. And obviously you have a very diverse background that's set you up for success so far with the wine business. What would you say has contributed with, having such a unique background? What have you kind of carried over that's played into your success so far?
Well, I was born an entrepreneur, whether it was when we had the farm, I was always setting up fruit and vegetable stands and trying to make a buck here and there from, and my grandmother would always plant way too many things in the garden. We had an abundance, and you know how you try and give your family and friends grocery bags full of stuff, and it's still not enough. So I could sell pumpkins and gourds and stuff on Halloween. It just was never ending, other than the winter where I would shovel snow for a few bucks here and there, go shovel driveways, hustle up, stuff like that. But I always had a business on the side, whether it was through school, college, high school, always working for myself or commandeering my friends to help me do things. So it was just, you know, life on a farm. You always had to have a way out, you know, and have that extra money to do things. And I wanted to be that guy. And I was always very sharing and caring with what I could make and bring them in and share the profits or do whatever it may be. So that kind of carried over to the success of my business in Dallas with how we've taken care of our employees there. Been doing this now for almost 20 years and had Aspenmark Roofing and Solar, which is my company in Dallas that specializes in the hailstorm restoration. Same employees have been there for many, many years. So it shows that the character of our culture that we build, whether it's in wine or in construction.
And there's so many wineries, obviously, in Napa Valley out there. What makes Hailstone stand out compared to the rest of the wine in the spectrum that comes out of the U.S.?
Well, you know, again, we sought out to be a boutique winery. The original marketing plan was kind of interesting because I thought that I could be the guy in the roofing, in the hailstorm restoration space that could make wine. But notes to me, like anything, I go in kind of wide-eyed and never do the research behind the marketing or what the market share could be or the falls in it. I always, if it costs me money, I learn. That I've learned over time. But yet it's been, you know, great, exceptional quality. Surround yourself with the people that know. Don't try and learn everything. I know how to sell and market, but we have been blessed with two awesome winemakers that are some of the best in Napa Valley. Shout out Zenner and Tim Milos. And so, you know, I've always been kind of that Rosetta Stone where I don't need to be the smartest guy in the room. I just need to have access to the smartest people in the room and then put them all together. And that's how you form a brand or a business and make it successful.
Yeah, and it's bright and sunny here in Boston today and Nixon, Maine. But I love that your aim is to encourage consumers to enjoy wine in all types of weather, whether with family, friends, and with great conversation. And nothing brings us together regardless of conditions like a great glass of wine, right? So that being said, what's the significance of your line, Do Your Weather Dance?
So I love that you brought that up because remember, you know, when you don't have really anything to talk about, you talk about the weather. Dave Matthews from Boston, Charlottesville, but in that East Coast realm there, said it best, you know, in one of the songs, talk about the weather. And so if you don't have anything better to do, we do kind of bring up that subject. But for us, our weather dance that we do in Dallas-Fort Worth is a hail dance. And so we love hail and hailstorms. We don't want anybody to get hurt, but property damage happens every year, and Mother Nature is going to bring what she brings. And so we, in the industry, call the hail dance. And so we love to do the hail dance when we don't have any work and we need a fresh hailstorm in order to get some work generated. So I kind of thought about it when we look at the icons on the back of the bottle. So I thought about when you're at the beach, you always do your sun dance because you want it to be sunny and never rain. And when you're in the mountains and you're going skiing, or you want to be up there in the winter, you do your snow dance because you want fresh powder for skiing or sledding or whatever you may be doing. And then, you know, if you're in a drought area, and you'll do a rain dance. And so for us, we have the hail icon. So we do our hail dance. So whatever it may be, do your weather dance, but do it while enjoying Hailstone wines.
Awesome. Now let's get into the wine a little bit. So Bianca knows the first thing that stood out to me was the bottle. You guys really nailed it on the branding, and the bottles, we saw them online, saw the picture before they came in person, and they really just stand out compared to other ones that I've seen in the past. So tell us a little bit about how you came up with that design, that 3D printed metal logo.
Thank you. It's evolved over time. We started with a screen to print. If you can see the giant bottle, that's an etched bottle. Our etching has been award winning because it really stands out in the etching. Some of the etching companies that have done the work for us in the past, they've used that as their showcase piece when they've done trade shows and things like that. It's just very unique, and we couldn't believe how well it turned out once the etching started. But originally we did screen printing the bottle, which was just like that etching, but it didn't have any 3D to it. It was just kind of but we were getting our point across, like the glass shattering and things. That's what we want with hail. We had people ask us about the spider web, and we couldn't figure out what the spider web was, and it's like an ink blot, whatever it means to you, and no one was putting the two together. So we finally classed it up a bit when we went to this pewter label, and we started in 2013 with our proprietor's reserve wine, and we made that our kind of our flagship label. And we thought it was cool because it was mysterious. It didn't have anything on the front of the bottle. So what we found was people would put it in their hands, and it would become a tactile experience from the backside. So they rub their hands on it and want to feel it and touch it, but they had to pick the bottle up to find out what was on the back label to know what's in the bottle. So it was a home run. We blew through the wine extremely fast, and we got major kudos on the marketing and the branding. And so over time, we migrated through it, and now we're all finally on current vintages and into the pewter label that's made in France.
Bianca, you're muted.
Very cool. I have it in front of me, and yes, I was muted, Nick. We also wanted to congratulate you for being nominated, speaking of awards, for Best Wine Club through Vintners Collective, and that's a huge accomplishment, obviously. So can you tell us a bit about the wine club? It must be pretty great for you to have been nominated for that award.
Yeah, we're real excited and very thankful for our tasting room partner in Napa Valley, Vintners Collective. They're located in downtown Napa. That's how we go to market in Napa. So when you come out to Napa, you can't really visit us in the winery, or in the vineyards, but you can come see us at a collective tasting room, which is 20 boutique wineries just like ourselves. So you can visit them all underneath one historic building in downtown Napa. Super cool, great people, and so we do a lot of business with them throughout the year, and they've been very great to us as far as our wine club and their wine club as well. So it's a great honor.
So to get into one of the things we always like to talk about, and you being proficient in the kitchen and cooking and everything, we like to talk about food pairings, because what goes better with wine than food, right? So one of the bottles that we have here is, there you go. So one of the bottles we have here is the 2019, the 32 degree Sauvignon Blanc there. What would you recommend as some of your favorite food pairings to go with that?
I think that this wine pairs extremely well with light seafood. So I think, and either wine can really be interchangeable, just depending on citrus level of what your palate may like. They both pair well. I love the Sauvignon Blanc with oysters, with raw oysters. I think it just nails it with a little bit of beignet sauce on there. I mean, it's just very clean. So or a light white fish, or even a sautéed calamari versus a fried calamari is an octopus also, something that pairs extremely well with the Sauvignon Blanc.
And being here in the Northeast, we have plenty of that. I know recently I just went fishing with my friends, and I have some fresh haddock that I'm turning into some haddock piccata this week. So definitely going to pair it up with that.
Yeah, no, it does well with pretty much all light seafood. I think when you get into a little the Chardonnay, I think a scallop goes well with that. But I mean, it's just, listen, it all goes well with whatever you like, right?
Yep, exactly.
Definitely. And I have the Proprietor's Reserve Cab open here, Cabernet Sauvignon, I should say the whole name. And it's a beautiful wine. I've tasted it. I've let it breathe for a little bit, so it has all of its aromas. Can you tell us a bit about this compared to your other Cabernet that you have?
So the Proprietor's Reserve, so we're big fans of Mount Veeder. Most of our cabs are all Mount Veeder based, at least the Cabernet is. The blending grapes, whether it may be Malbec or Petit Verdot or Merlot come from Coombsville and Yountville. We have some sources over there that are really really nice vineyards. And let me speak to that for a second before I jump into the reserve. You know, all of our wines, we do leases in certain vineyards based on elevation, soil type, and sun exposure, and that's all driven by our winemakers based upon what we're looking for. So I'll set them out on the journey for what the style of the wine that we're looking for, and then they'll figure it out. So again, going back to, I'm not the smartest guy, they're the smart guys. I'm just dumb enough to get in the business and write the checks. So it's like, but they do an outstanding job by doing that, and it also gives us flexibility if we ever were to change a program. So for example, we originally started out on our Chardonnay program in Russian River in Sonoma County, and we had an opportunity to move to Oakville in Napa, which is right down the street from us. We live in Yountville, and so and it's from a very marquee grower, and so that was a opportunity for us to shift that program, and we didn't have any ownership in anything, and we were able to move on the fly. So that accelerated I mean, I shouldn't say accelerated, it elevated our Chardonnay program, I think, immensely. So we're currently happy with what we're doing and where it's going. But the 2016 Proprietors Reserve is 100% Cabernet Sauvignon. So our Proprietors Reserve is always 100% Cab. And then the Impact, which is our next line down from the flagship, is a blend. But it's always going to be a Cab, but it's just a matter of what the components are that are blending in the percentages.
Nice. And so the Chardonnay I haven't opened yet. Nick and I are going to have that one together. That has some nice aromas. I'm looking at your listing here with pineapple and honeysuckle and some other light fruits. So you said you would pair something like a scallop with that. How would you describe, for our listeners, because we have listeners all across the spectrum from beer to spirits to wine, everybody kind of likes something different. How would you describe, from your perspective, the difference between drinking something like a light Sauv Blanc compared to, you know, your Chardonnay that's a little bit on the softer, rounder side?
Let me refresh my palate here so I can get connected with you. It's interesting. The Sauvignon Blanc we started out being a Cab. We produced a Cab, which was Impact Cab, the very first Cab that we produced. Then we moved into the Reserve. We thought that would be, no, I'm sorry. We started a Chardonnay program because we figured we needed a white and a red to do dinners. And then we moved into the Reserve, which was 100% Cab. And then from there, we were on these three wines for a while, and everyone got into the rosé game. And so, and as much as I love rosé all day, I didn't want to do the same that everybody else was doing. So my palate had moved away from some of the more oaked up Chardonnays, and I wanted to go to, you know, almost steel flavored Chardonnays or concrete, just get away from that buttery over the top. Kendall Jackson, you know, put Chardonnay on the map, and I just wanted to pull away from that. And everybody was doing so much of it. So we said, well, what about Sauv Blanc? We love a lighter style Sauvignon Blanc, but we didn't like the New Zealand style where it was very grapefruitish and just very citrusy. So we said, what about doing a Napa style Sauvignon Blanc, almost like a Chardonnay light, or the same oak treatment as a Chardonnay, but using a lighter grape. And that's what we arrived on that Sauvignon Blanc, which is the 32 degrees. And then we backed down the oak treatment on the Chardonnay, on the Restoration Chardonnay. So these two wines are very similar in profile, but one's just heavier than the other.
Yeah, I think that's a great description for everybody. Definitely. And do you have any wines that you have coming out soon in the next couple of years that you know for sure that you want to add? Obviously, new vintages, but is there anything new that you kind of have in mind?
Well, not that we have anything in mind, but we do have new releases coming up. We just finished bottling. You know, with the pandemic, it's been what a challenge. And so, a challenge for obviously the on-premise with the restaurant stuff has suffered, but the online business has picked up for us, for those, being at home. And a lot of new cooks are doing different things. And the cooking industry is exploding with this because everybody's at home. So wine pairings and virtual tastings like what we're doing have become the norm. And so even trying to bottle, because we have to keep, the show goes on. So doing that and doing that kind of remotely and limiting the amount of people that can be present to do it. We finally got our 2019 Restoration Chardonnay bottled on August 4th. So that will be releasing here in September. And so it's a little late for a white wine, but I'd rather get it released now because we only have a few cases left of our last vintage. And so, we want to get it out there for the Chardonnay lovers that are year round.
I know I love a good glass of Chardonnay year round. Now, I know we touched on the etching of that big bottle there behind you. What wine do you have in that one?
We do etching in larger formats. We don't do any of our 750s in etching, but we do it in our larger, our 3s and our 3 and 6 liters. We only produce one of these a year, and that's for my own personal consumption. Someday we'll crack them open. I don't know when that'll be or what celebration it'll be, but we're still sitting on all of them. So maybe we'll donate it to charity because it's a lot of wine. It's a case of wine in one of those bottles. But it's only for the reds. So it's the proprietor's reserve and the impact cab.
All right. And you look like you're in a beautiful wine store there. I see some glasses hanging up over there on the wall. Do you want to tell us a little bit about where you're at?
Yeah, so I reside in Naples, Florida, which is where we are today, Dallas, Texas with the construction company, and then out in Yountville, California with the wine. And so I kind of do this East Coast, West Coast thing with the stop in the middle because I have to make money somewhere to afford the lifestyle of being in food and wine. But yeah, we're coming from you this evening from a wonderful French restaurant here in Naples, Florida called Blue Provence. It's one of the top wine cellars. I wish I could walk around with you guys and show you that this wine cellar, just over on the other side of me, is second to none. It's the deepest one here in the area. They're well. Wine Spectator has recognized them year in and year out for having one of the top wine cellars in the country. Fine, fabulous French food. And they just do it right, and it's a great spot. So if you're a wine person and love, the French wines that they have here are amazing, but they also have just a incredible selection of every other region around the world. But yeah, they do it right. So come down to Naples, Florida, and see Blue Provence, and ask for Hailstone here. They do a great job with our wines, as well as many of the other restaurants up and down 3rd and 5th here in sunny Naples, Florida.
And I know a lot of our listeners are in Massachusetts and New Hampshire and Maine and New York, all over the Northeast, because that's where we started out here. Where can our listeners get their hands on some Hailstone wine?
HailstoneVineyards.com. So that's where our website can tell you all about the wines, and you can order online. We do only through Wine Club or online sales, and then on premise with some of the finer restaurants throughout the country. It's funny you should mention Boston. You're not kidding. Naples is Boston South. There's so many Bostonians down here. It's amazing, especially in season, and now it's becoming year round. So this has become Boston's home, I think, of the South. And they're fighting with the Midwesterners now, I think, to take over first place. But yeah, you can find our wines in most of the fine restaurants down here. I'm sure your listeners are very familiar with Naples, Florida, or the surrounding area.
Yeah, I visit Florida every year. Typically, we go to Naples, and I went to Napa for the first time last year, and we also recently went to St. Thomas. And it's funny because everywhere we've gone, we find people from Boston. Like, it doesn't matter where we go. There are business owners from Boston. They're like, what? I don't know how they all end up there, but it's so interesting and it's fun, and no matter what.
once you get outside the bubble, it's funny for me. I drive my friends and family crazy about. I can always find. I say a conversation I can find within 2 conversations someone from Akron, Ohio, and I prove up all the time, and it's just it just becomes a game. But it's true. The degree of separation from where you're from. It's not far.
Well, is there anything else that we didn't cover that you would like our listeners to know, or just that you have in mind to share?
No, I mean, just, again, we're very small production. We're about 500 cases a year, which is very, very tiny. So the wine does go through our distributor partners and our wine club very quick. So if you'd like to grab some, feel free to hailstonevineyards.com. We're going to be allocating here probably next year is where it's headed. So if you're in the know at the beginning, you'll be the first on the list to get it when others can't. So, but that's kind of what we do. We keep it small and keep it high end and fun. And our rules are there are no rules. Enjoy it however you want and do your weather dance with Hailstone wines.
Great, and I'm very excited. I'll be making a recipe tonight with your Cabernet, the Reserve Cabernet. So I'm very excited. You'll all see it on social media. I'll be tagging Hailstone, so make sure if you're listening to follow them. Can you tell us where everyone can find you on social?
Well, that's a good question because we have people that do that for us. So remember I told you about the Rosetta Stone?
That's right.
You might be better off sharing that with your listeners because I'm just going to point you to a website and all of the icons to follow us on Twitter and YouTube and Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I think they're all there. So you can click through our website or you can provide them and share them for us.
They made it easy for you. I just pulled you up here on Instagram. It's at Hailstone Vineyards, so it's easy to find you on Instagram.
Very straightforward.
Yep. So go to the website, get yourself some wine, and Chris, we loved having you on tonight.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Bianca.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
You bet. Cheers.
Follow us on social at Uncorked Corner and on the blog at uncorkedcorner.com for a taste of more food and beverage content.
And if you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave a comment, subscribe, rate, and review on whatever podcast platform you prefer. Thanks for listening.